turn it up. Yeah. Clock eyes, Uncle Dave.
It's a dynasty. It's a dynasty. It's a dynasty. It's a dynasty. Hey, let's talk what moves to do, who to trade for who. Get your fantasy stats and the place to boot. Get the plans for the draft and the major clues. With the home Sean, Joey, and Andrew. Dan dudes got the hot takes. Every stop place, not base, plot cases. Man, hit the streams of fate. Talking teams and plays. But let's get to the show, man. See you later.
All right, welcome back to Dynasty Football Digest. My name is Sean. You can find me on Twitter at Lanny1925. I am here with Andrew.
Hey, what's going on? You can find me at BiddySetFF.
And Joey.
You can find me at Joey the Tooth IDP.
All right, so we are done with the NFL draft. Finally.
So we thought.
Yeah, I mean, we still got rankings and stuff to do. A lot of work still to be done there, but the NFL draft is over, and we finally know where all of these guys landed. So we're going to take some time today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the running backs that got drafted and where they went to, how we feel about the situation. You guys want to kick it off with RB1, Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
That's a beautiful landing spot.
Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire landed in Kansas City.
Brian Westbrook 2.0.
Yeah, Andrew didn't think Kansas City was going to take a running back. So, Andrew, you want to speak to this a little bit?
I mean, yeah, it's an ideal landing spot for a versatile running back like him. They're going to get him in space. He's going to have a ton of opportunity. I just, I guess I somewhat disagree with the concept of drafting a running back in the first round. So, I mean, he obviously wasn't going to be there for them in the second round. I still am not certain that was their biggest need. I thought they had enough guys on their roster to get the job done. So, I think it's still a bit of a luxury pick for them from an NFL perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, that's like magic, right? Like,
yeah,
that's unbelievable. So yeah, I'm excited about it for the upcoming season for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty thrilled with all the Clyde Edwards-Helaire shares I have. I think I probably have them in like 9 out of 12 leagues at this point. I'm just
with all the talk you were talking about so much, and I saw him drop to Kansas City at the end of the first, and I was just like, oh, he's so happy right now.
I was on the phone with my brother, and when that pick went off, I stood up out of my chair and did a victory lap, just did a whole run around.
You were like, I called RB1. I called this.
See, I didn't even think he was going to be the first one off the board. I just thought he was the best running back.
Right. And then he lands in pretty much the best situation, especially for his skill set. Yeah,
it's perfect, to be honest. So I don't think you could have made a better match there. So I am absolutely thrilled with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You guys have anything else you want to say to that? Andrew, he's not your RB1 for fantasy right now, is he?
So it's still a big mush up at the top. I don't know. I think he probably has to be just because of the landing spot. He's so close to the guys. I think in terms of skill set, I had him ranked below the guys in terms of fantasy value before the draft, but he had by far the best landing spot of all the running backs. So I think he probably has to be at this point. It's a bit of a fluid situation right now still.
Yeah. Next guy on the board, DeAndre Swift. This one I'm not as happy about from an NFL standpoint or a fantasy standpoint. I've got a lot of DeAndre Swift shares, and I'm a Lions fan. So from a fantasy perspective, I hate it. I don't like him. I don't like him going to the Lions where we've been unsuccessful running the ball forever. He's also got Kerryon Johnson there. There's a lot going on. They're going to be a pass first offense, and I just don't think they're that good at running the football and haven't been since, Barry Sanders left the team. So to me, their historic struggles in the run game just haven't turned around, and I don't know that he's going to be the answer there. So from a fantasy perspective, I don't love the landing spot. I still think he's really talented. From an NFL perspective, dude, you have so many fucking needs on that team. what in the world are you doing taking a second-round running back? And not only taking a second-round running back, but doing it like 2 years after doing the same exact thing with Kerryon Johnson and realizing that, oh, your running game still isn't good because the running back doesn't fucking matter and you just need an offensive line and a running scheme.
Boy, you should have heard how heated that rant was on draft day.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And then you've got the just like eternally optimistic Lions fans who are out there who just are not having it. Where like if you would have told them, like if I would have done a mock with DeAndre Swift as the second pick in the like before the draft, people would have come at me just hating the pick. But as soon as they actually make the pick, then it's like all roses and like it's the greatest thing ever. And it's like, oh, he's gonna 2,000 yards. It's like, oh my God, get your head out of your ass. Fucking Christ.
I think what it just says, I really think that it just says they don't have faith in Kerryon staying healthy.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. Like,
oh no, I agree. It's not a good pick. I'm just saying, like from what I see, them taking him that early, it leads me to believe they don't have faith in Kerryon Johnson.
I just think they have an old school mentality. Like they love those like run stuffing linebackers that are super unathletic and can't cover. You know, like the guys that would have been prototypical like 20 years ago, and they love having like nose tackles at every position. It's just like it's like, oh, we need a box safety. Let's just put Snacks Harrison in there. Like that's I don't know. It's just it's like it's an old school football mentality where it's like beat them in the trenches. And
I think you're a Lions fan just for the pain.
This is not what our team has ever been until this regime, and it's just like going backwards in terms of progression. It's like the roster is actually gonna be fine this year, but just the mentality behind the roster I can't stand. It's just so regressive to what the NFL should be doing. But yeah, I didn't.
Are you
love
a Lions
those.
fan or a masochist?
Honestly, here's the thing.
He's still not sure.
I'm a Stafford fan at this point, where like I've come to dislike so many of the things that the organization has done over the years that like if Stafford went to the Patriots, I think I would follow him.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
That's a bold statement.
Dude, I think that if Rodgers got traded and Stafford got traded to the Packers, I'd become a Packers fan.
Dude, you should just become a Vikings fan. You're in Minnesota.
No, I hate that. I don't want to do that.
Couldn't do it.
I did hear some speculation about the Packers moving on from Rodgers, which would be very interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen there. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, not a fan of the Swift landing spot. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Joey.
I mean, like I said, it leads me to believe they don't have faith in Kerryon Johnson. So I think it'll probably be a committee to me to start the season, but I think they're just going to give the reins to Swift down the stretch. But like you said, it's a pass-first offense. But he does have good receiving chops, but I don't see him. He's probably going to be like the RB5 out of this draft, I think, at the end of the season.
I still think he does have potential to end up in like that RB20-ish area, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know? It's not what you were hoping for when you drafted him, but like he didn't get that Miami landing spot that everyone wanted, which shockingly didn't end up being a landing spot for anybody but Breida. But Andrew, Swift.
Yeah, so I don't love it for fantasy for anybody. Really, I had a little bit of investment in Kerryon, and so obviously I don't like that because it doesn't look good for him. But I honestly don't think that Swift's going to be productive either. I think he'll be like, you're talking like top 20. Sure, he could be like an RB2 in the season, but I don't think that is really realizing his potential as a running back. So I just feel like it's, like you said, it's kind of where running backs go to die, which is unfortunate for such a talented prospect. So.
Yep. Not going to disagree with you there.
Where running backs go to die.
I know.
Reggie
This one's
Bush.
a little better, though. Reggie Bush actually had a resurgence there. He was like he's probably our best running back, or most
He
successful
is.
running back since Barry Sanders.
Barry
yeah.
Sanders.
I think he's the only guy to rush for 1,000 yards since Barry Sanders, or something ridiculous like that.
That's a tough stat, man.
I don't even know if he hit that because it had
He
been.
did. No, he did.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
It had to have been close then because.
Oh yeah.
1,001 yards.
Well, dude, that stretch of not having a 100-yard rusher for like 6 years. Like not a single game with a 100-yard rusher for like 6 years.
Man.
It was just fucking insane. So.
But Johnson, was it Karen Johnson that broke that one?
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson broke it his rookie year, I think, one time.
And then he got injured.
And it was almost one of those things where like they're getting to the end of the game and like you could tell they're just kind of giving him the ball to break that streak.
They're like, come on, we have to do this.
But then didn't he get to like 101 and then like he took a 1 yard loss on a player or something like that and they're like, no, he's so close. But Reggie Bush, he ran for 1,006 yards in 2013.
It's not even 1,000-yard rusher at that point. Like,
and he actually had a 30-yard gain on his final carry. It was that bad.
Oh God. All right, the next one's a little better. Jonathan Taylor to the Colts. So for me, like he's going to be the clear lead back here. I don't think that Merlin Mack's going to take much of his work there. The concern is that they do have like a designated receiving back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might hurt his PPR value, which like kind of the ideal thing for Jonathan Taylor was to go somewhere that didn't have that that ideal receiving back, but I think Nyheim Hines probably cuts into his pass catching work there. So that's really the one downside, but I think this is still a really good landing spot for him.
Yeah, the offensive line in Indy's so good. I mean, Marlon Mack came in, he had over 1,000 yards last year. Jonathan Taylor could easily eclipse 1,250. I think he's going to be the clear back. I think with Phillip Rivers there as a quarterback, I don't really have too much hope for him, so I think he's going to be more of a game manager, and I think they're going to actually run the offense through Jonathan Taylor, kind of like the way Tennessee does with Derrick Henry. And I think they're good enough to stay up where they won't have to use a third down back too often. You know what I mean? They won't be in catch-up mode too much. It really depends on how Rivers plays, to be honest.
There's also a lot of passing downs. Whether you're winning or losing, there's a lot of downs where you're
throwing
the
true.
Football.
But I mean, if they have a game plan like they did in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, I mean, just run him into the ground, really.
That's just such a rare system now, though. Like you've got the Titans and the 49ers and the Ravens, and I think that's like all I can really think of teams that just like pound the rock.
All playoff teams and all efficient offenses, though. Think about that.
That's because they're winning, so they just pound the rock.
That's true.
Like if they were losing, they wouldn't still be pounding the rock. So cause and effect. Andrew, thoughts on Jonathan Taylor to the Colts?
So my initial thought was that it was incredible and it's going to be a match made in heaven. However, I did read a couple of interesting things since then, which haven't completely changed my mind, but given me pause. And so I didn't realize this, but apparently Merlin Mack was like a receiving phenom in college. He was used like split out wide, like running actual like wide receiver routes, and he was highly effective in doing so. And just for whatever reasons, the Colts never used him like that. They wanted him to be the hammer, and they had Hines come in as more of the scat back, right? But if that is his skill set, but he's still effective as a runner, could he not be the change of pace back to Jonathan Taylor? And like so I'm not saying he's as good as Hines as a receiver, but he's certainly a much more dual threat option than Hines is. Like you're not afraid of Hines running the ball, right? Versus Mack, he is highly effective as a receiver, and he's proven that he can be effective as a runner. So does that not give your offense a little bit more opportunities to be disguised? And so I don't think Mack is going to be completely phased out by any means. I think there will be situations where it's obvious passing downs, and they'll probably go with Hines. And there's going to be situations where it's obvious running downs, so they'll probably go with Taylor. but I think there's still going to be plenty of opportunities where, you go either way. And I think that Mack still has potential and value in that system. So I think it's going to be a bigger mess than most people think this year. And so, yeah, I don't think I would want to heavily invest in Taylor from a redraft perspective. Dynasty for sure. He's just such an incredible runner. It's a safe pick to go with Taylor. So I'm not afraid of him long term.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk J.K. Dobbins.
Are you ready to take your fantasy draft to the next level? Order your rookie draft guide today, covering 122 rookie prospects in both IDP and offense. A collaboration between your favorite analysts. Pre-order at idpguys.org and dynastyfootballdigest.com.
All right, guys. J.K. Dobbins. What'd you think of the landing spot? Oh no, we got to talk Cam Akers first. Damn it! All right, I'm excited to get to Dobbins. Let's let Andrew talk Akers, because I know Andrew is pretty big on Cam Akers right now.
So without giving too much away, we did have a rookie draft to start this week, and I had the choice between Akers and Dobbins.
What do you mean without giving too much away? What is the secret that you're hiding?
Well, I don't always like to share too much of my thought process when I have like several more rookie drafts that we have to get through, right?
That's literally what we do.
We share thought process.
Right. I want to share it with the listeners. I don't want to share it with you two, because you guys are drafting against me.
Sean, you missed it. I told Andrew who I was going to pick with the draft pick that I traded up for with him, and he said I asked who he was picking. He said, "I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to Matt Stafford me."
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So
still, nothing compares to Nate being too busy at work to make his picks. So I told him I'd make one for him, and I gave him a choice of like my top 3 guys at the position, and then he took them like on the way, all 3 of them on the way back before it got to me. I was like, "You fucking asshole! I was trying to help you out." All right,
you really helped him.
Talk Cam Akers.
Yeah, so I was on the clock. I think it was pick 5 and Superflex, and Akers and Dobbins were both on the board, and oh my god, it was torturous because I love Dobbins. Dobbins, I think, was probably pre-draft. I was certainly higher on him than Akers, but I feel like certainly initially Akers has a better opportunity to playing time because the Rams' backfield is a little bit of a mess. Long term, I still think Dobbins is probably in a better situation, but it's basically the flip of a coin. I went with Akers, and then I've been really torturing myself ever since because I'm like that's probably one of the few opportunities I'm going to have to get Dobbins because I don't have a ton of high picks in a lot of the leagues that I'm drafting for rookies. So I think Akers is more likely to slip in general, but no, I love the landing spot for him. I think it's an incredible spot for him. Now, I know that the offensive line play of the Rams last year was not incredible, but I think it is something that they can correct. I know that they didn't go and invest a ton of draft capital in O-line, but I think some of the issues were injury related last year. I believe. I could be mistaken on that. But like if you look at it, Gurley was still reasonably productive on on an efficiency metric, right? And Malcolm Brown, who is just a guy, was comparably protected to Gurley. So I think that there's still a lot of potential in that job. And I think Akers is the kind of guy that can be very successful in that style because I think it's a zone blocking scheme that they use in LA, is it not, right? And so I think especially where he's just such an athletic freak, if you open up the holes for him, I think he can take advantage. But so I love the landing spot, but it's a tough decision.
What are you trading away Darrell Henderson for now?
Oh, that's hurtful.
That's like a knife in the back.
I'm wondering if you've come down from your first round pick that you're requiring.
I'd probably do it for a second at this point.
Like a 2020 second?
Oh, nobody's going to give a 2020 second if the depth is dropped. No, I'd do it for a future second though. Just because I'm not saying Akers obviously has the job to himself, because they got a bit of a mess there themselves, but they did invest. Was he a third last year, Henderson?
Second.
He was a second last year. So like they've got similar draft capital invested. They just didn't seem sold on what they saw in him last year, so they went out and invested another second. So I still think he has value. I'm not giving him away, but yeah, I'd probably do a future second. At this point, I'd probably do a 2020 third, just because we were talking before, the draft this year is so ridiculously deep. So I'd probably do it for 2020 third or 2021 second. So
I might see if I can find a third to send you somewhere. Because I'd do a third. I wouldn't do a second though. I'm not touching
not in this
that.
draft.
No, absolutely not.
And it's going to depend on my team makeup too, right? If I need the flyer running back versus because I'm not probably going with a running back in the third. I'm probably going wide receiver. So if I need the wide receiver help in that league.
Yep. Okay. On to J.K. Dobbins. You want to do this one, Joey?
Yeah, I love the J.K. Dobbins spot. He's probably, to start the year, he'll probably be behind Ingram, and Ingram's on the books for another, I think, year or two, but they have an out after this season with Ingram, and it's not too much dead cat. And the offense that the Ravens run, I think they have 36.8 running plays per game. I was looking at this. It's by far the most of any team in the league last year. And
They of them are quarterback runs.
Well, probably I would say 12 to 15, but still you take 15 away from 36, you still have 21 carries.
I don't know the 21
And even
carries.
if you give 21 carries, how many running backs carry the ball 3 times? We had this conversation before.
No,
Yeah.
but you're not you don't have one running back taking all of the
No,
carries.
I'm saying, like, even if Gus Edwards or Justice Hill is there, they're only going to touch the ball probably 6 or 7 times, and that still leaves you 15, 16 carries a game. Plus, he's a threat out of the backfield as a receiver. I'm just saying the amount of offensive plays that team runs leaves so much room for potential with the running back.
Andrew's shaking his head about something over there.
So he didn't get 12 to 15 carries per game. That's ridiculous. Like that what does that extrapolate it to? Jackson.
Oh no, that was just a guess. I wasn't sure.
So he averaged like 11 on the high side. So he had 176 rushes last year. So like 12 is on the high side, right? So if they're getting 36 rushing attempts per game, that's 25. But they also ran both of their RBs a fair amount last year. Gus Edwards had a reasonably, efficient. Actually, I think he had a more efficient rushing numbers last year than Ingram did. Just Ingram had the passing game and the goal line work, right? So he was the fantasy value. So yeah, I think like I said before, I was torn on the decision of whether to draft them, because I think that there's so much space created by Jackson that I think both running backs last year averaged over 5 yards per carry, and it's just such an efficient offense. He's not a high volume passer, but he had like a record breaking touchdown percentage on his passes. They set I think they were the highest scoring NFL offense last year as well in terms of actual points scored. Like, there's just opportunities there to score points. So being in a committee in Baltimore, could be more valuable than being in a workhorse role somewhere else. So
right.
Yeah, I certainly like the landing spot for Dobbins, and I think his skill set fits that offense well. The only downside being that I don't think there was a ton of passing game work for the running backs last year, because typically Jackson. Well, they didn't have Dobbins, but Ingram's an accomplished pass catcher in his own right. But typically, if Jackson has the option between like doing a 5-yard check down or running it himself, he's going to run it, right? So It's
But they did say that they want to scale back his running a little bit this year.
and they definitely should.
Yeah, so that might play into the.
So Ingram last year had 29 targets, 26 catches. So it's not a big average 9 yards per reception. It's not a big workload though, right?
No, that's not very good.
And Edwards is not involved in the passing game at all.
Right.
So he is. If that's the opportunity in the passing game for running backs, that's not a significant boon to Dobbins' value.
Fair enough. AJ Dillon to the Packers, round 2. This is garbage. First of all, I don't like AJ Dillon. I don't think he's good.
The Packers are a damn dumpster fire.
Second of all, generally, like when you get draft capital, it means you're going to be afforded every opportunity, but like you're not. Like you're behind Aaron Jones.
Just led the league in rushing touchdowns last year.
Right? Like there's no way that he supplants Aaron Jones immediately out of the gate.
And he's still going to have to fight Jamal Williams for a backup role.
Yeah. I don't see it here at all, man. I'm just not into the AJ Dillon train. Andrew, is this intrigue you at all?
No, like we talked about his tape. He looks like hot garbage on tape. And like his testing was like out of this world, right? Like he was like a 98th percentile spark athlete or something stupid like that, or weight adjusted anyway, because he's a big fella. But his only real route to fantasy value is as a goal line back. But that's competing with a guy that led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. So he's not going to be the goal line back, right? They have an established guy that's been effective in the goal line situations. It's not happening.
I also think that's just not where he excelled in college. Like he didn't like break tackles from a standstill or move the pile or anything. He needed a head of steam to do everything that he did. It just, I don't know, man.
He reminds me of Brandon Jacobs on the tail end of his career.
Yeah, a little bit. I can pretty safely say I'm not going to land AJ Dillon anywhere just based on where he's being drafted right now. It's like, nah, it's not happening. It's like he's not even one of those guys where I'm going to take like a shot to, like try and hedge my bets a little. It's like, no, I'll do what I did with Ronald Jones where like I'll wait a year until Aaron Jones is gone and AJ Dillon is costing like a fourth, like not touching it till then. So Keyshawn Vaughn. Joey, I know you really liked this one.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Ronald Jones, he's really his only competition there. And Keyshawn Vaughn is a far more complete running back than Ronald Jones is. The landing spot's perfect. He can catch out of the backfield. He's got Tom Brady. He's going to check down a lot. I think it's a premier landing spot. They had no rushing offense before. Jones, he was okay last year in spurts, but like I said, Keyshawn Vaughn is a much better running back than Ronald Jones. So I just think that offense with an actually efficient running back, it'll be very nice.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. Andrew?
Yeah, I've seen some comparisons to Vaughn, some comparisons to him and David Johnson from when Arians was in Arizona, bigger back, effective in the pass game. I think that's a little bit high praise because David Johnson was kind of he
was RB1.
Yeah, he was kind of unparalleled, and for those basically was it 2.5 seasons that he was top of the league.
I think it was that long.
I think it was a season and a half.
Yeah, it was a season and a half.
Anyway, so he was like top of the world. So I think it's pretty high praise. I guess the only concern is I thought Jones started to emerge a little bit towards the end of last year. So if they sort of give him first crack at it and he doesn't fumble the job, then it might be difficult for Vaughn to come in and take it from him. I don't necessarily know what Brady's track record is in terms of trusting rookie running backs, especially if they're not as polished in pass pro. And I'm not saying Jones is polished in pass pro, but he's got a couple of actual pro seasons under his belt to refine it a little bit more than Vaughn. So that would be my only concern is that if he doesn't check all the boxes early enough and Jones is able to sort of hang on to his job kicking and screaming, it might be tough to win it in season.
Jones can't catch the football though.
No.
Whereas
And I think if they
Vaughn-
had that much faith in Jones, they wouldn't have spent an early third on a running back.
I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of teams did some dumb things with running back this year. Like the
Like the
Chiefs running game.
Lions?
Well, the Chiefs running game was fine. The Lions running game is trash regardless of who they draft. Then you got the Colts were doing fine with Marlon Mack. The Rams spent capital on Henderson last year. You know, the Ravens were fine running the football. They didn't need Dobbins to come in and fix anything. So, I mean, and the Packers, like all of these teams are teams where it was just like, yeah, I don't know why you did this, but sure. Like,
You know who did
whatever.
great when it came to drafting running backs? 49ers, because they just signed 2 undrafted free agents. That's it.
Yeah, they signed 2 good ones too. They
Yeah.
had JaMychal Hasty and who's the other one?
Salvin Ahmed.
Okay, Ahmed's okay. I do like Hasty a lot though. And then J.J. Taylor to the Patriots, who was my RB9. So just throwing that out there.
Mighty Mouse.
What was that?
Mighty Mouse.
I like the comparison.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Okay, last one before we go to break. Zach Moss to Buffalo. What do you think?
If you were expecting
Okay.
Zach Moss to really put up good numbers, I think this kind of kicked you in the chops a little bit. I don't think there's any point here where he's like the clear RB1. He's definitely going to be splitting work with Devin Singletary.
See, I guess this is no different to me than Cam Akers to the Rams or than Vaughn to the Bucks. This
No.
is like the same
See, the
exact-
difference to me is Singletary proved last year that he can play. I mean, Henderson or Malcolm Brown was okay, but neither of them really proved that they could play. The upside is
What
that
happened? What happened to like if they really trust him, they wouldn't spend an early third?
that is true. I guess you're right. No, you're 100% right.
I think a lot of people going into this draft wanted to see Zach Moss fall. And I think a lot of people wanted Singletary to be the guy more than they wanted Ronald Jones to be the guy. And people, like, there were a lot of people out there with Cam Akers as RB1. So, like, I feel like this is just a lot of excuse making from draft Twitter and fantasy Twitter. Like, I don't think the situations are all that different. And Zach Moss catches the football super well. Like, he's one of the most efficient receiving backs in college in terms of, like, drop passes and stuff. Like,
Right.
I just think, I don't know. I don't think this situation is much different than Vaughn or Akers, in my opinion. And I think it's better than A.J. Dillon, for sure.
Oh, God, yes. I think the
definitely.
thing they have
Dillon.
in his favor is how much they actually rush the football.
Yeah.
Dillon, let's just leave that as a mistake. But
Yeah. Let's just light the whole Packers draft on fire.
Yeah.
I still think that Buffalo, they got a McDermott, right? He's a defensive-minded coach, right? They ball control football. They want to run the ball a lot. I don't think they view Singletary as a guy that's going to rush the ball, 15 times per game. What did he have last year? 151 total rushes. That's fewer than 10 rushes per game. They need a guy like they had last year in Gore that can, punish the rock. And so I think that the fact that he is also, very efficient and trustworthy in the pass game makes him a candidate to be the lead rusher in a committee. So I think Moss, I certainly like the upside of Singletary. I think he's probably more elusive than Moss is, but I think that just in terms of actual fantasy opportunity, Moss is going to have probably more likely to have the early down work and some of the goal line work. So
Yeah. I think Moss is for sure. He graded out way better for me on tape than Singletary.
Yeah.
By like a wide margin. Singletary was a elusive back that ran really slow. And those things usually don't pair well together, although it seemed to work out for him last year. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll talk about some of these back-end running backs.
Dynasty Football Digest, your new essential site for Dynasty information. For as little as $1 a month, gain access to all that we have to offer. Rankings, trends, ADP, in-season assets, and a Slack chat just for subscribers. Purchase today at dynastyfootballdigest.com.
All right. We missed Antonio Gibson, so we had him listed with the wide receivers, but he's for sure a running back. Probably a hybrid, but I think they drafted him listed as a running back. Antonio Gibson, Washington. What do you guys think?
It's intriguing because the word on the street is they want to go with, like you said, the outdated offense and run split back. But I still don't think there's just too many mouths to feed in the running backs in that team, and even as a wide receiver, there's really not much passing volume. I don't really see a clear path to a lot of fantasy potential for him unless Geis doesn't unless Geis isn't healthy or Love isn't healthy and he can step in and actually have a active role in the running game.
Yeah, I mean, I really respect the fuck out of Washington for trying to find ways to get as many low-value position players on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, like, why not run like 5 running backs on the field at the same time? You know,
You got them, run them all, right?
Fuck quarterbacks, dude. Sign Lynn Bowden, and then just like put him at quarterback, and then just like run straight.
With Shea Patterson.
What?
He's an offensive weapon.
Shea Patterson, offensive weapon. Get him on the field. So yeah, I don't love this spot, but like, I feel like they gotta find a way to manufacture touches for him. I don't think it makes sense to draft a guy that high and not like try and get him like 10 touches a game. You know, like if you're drafting a guy like that, I feel like that's got to be a thing. I don't really like that idea, but especially for fantasy, but I don't know.
If they have him listed as a receiver, I feel like they could use him a little bit like the 49ers used Debo last year. A lot of jet sweeps, end arounds. I mean, it's not the same player. He's listed as running back?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
They drafted him as a running back.
I was going to say, because, I mean...
Yeah, but there's no way you're not, like, also using him in the passing game.
I figure Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think both of you are underestimating how poorly run that franchise is.
That's true.
So, like, I think one of the caveats that we said when we briefly discussed Gibson, because we never officially did film study as a group. I think both of you guys watched him. I didn't specifically watch him. I just heard all the accolades that you guys were heaping on him. It is basically tied to him being drafted into a system that knows how to use him, which I know Washington's under a new regime this year. So there's a possibility that they change their ways. I wouldn't count on it because the new regime is Rivera, who is, again, he's a defensive-minded coach. He's very much like pound the rock kind of coach, right? I don't think he's going to, even if he does run the 2 running back sets that he's talking about. Like, I don't think it's a plus for his value, right?
On the flip side of that, though, you look at what
McCaffrey.
Carolina. You look at not just McCaffrey, but Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, who are both like. Very like DJ Moore less so, but definitely Curtis Samuel, where like coming in, he was kind of a gadget guy. Like that's kind of what you viewed him as. And DJ Moore was definitely somebody who excelled more in the underneath game. And then you have McCaffrey as well. So like maybe there's something to that. Maybe it had nothing to do with him. I don't know. It's tough.
Did either Samuel or Moore unlock their true potential under Rivera, or was it more so this past year where they had the regime change?
Curtis Samuel played better before, I believe. Okay. DJ Moore played better this year than previously. And they all, I mean, I guess this year they also had terrible quarterback play, so it's tough to say.
Right, but Moore still had a great season despite poor quarterback play.
Yeah, they just kept funneling him targets. I mean,
and I think Samuel had an underrated season as well. Like it wasn't. Okay, never mind.
I don't think it was efficient by any means.
Yeah, no, it was much better the year before, I believe.
No, this is well, maybe efficiency wise. So he had 627 yards this year, 494 the year before, and 115 his rookie season.
But the year before, look at the second half of the year is what it is. It's when he started actually getting utilized.
Okay, I don't have his game line log broken down here. If I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, we move on to the next guy and circle back to that. Darington Evans, Titans. I like this a lot, actually. I think Darington Evans was my RB10. I think that's pretty close to where he went. And I like him as the heir to Derrick Henry because I don't think they're going to re-sign him after this year.
Yeah, I agree. He can go in this year and play a Deion Lewis role, like the receiving running back role, and then once Henry leaves, he can just go ahead and jump in and take on the RB1 role.
Yeah, I think this is a really good spot for him. Obviously, if they do re-sign Henry, this is kind of a train wreck. But
Yeah.
I think if they like what they see out of Evans, then they probably can afford to let Henry go. But I don't know. I like the landing spot there. Andrew, any thoughts on Darington Evans?
So again, I like the possibility of future opportunity. Obviously, the opportunity is not there right now, but I think it's going to be there. So I like it. Yeah, I'm a fan of Evans. I think he's one of those guys that you're going to take a flyer on, and in this year's draft, it's so deep again that you can get a guy like that in the late third, early fourth. I think he's worth a shot in that range for sure for the possible upside.
He was my guy.
Yeah. Josh Kelly to the Chargers. I don't know that this is great for really anybody. I don't think it really cuts into Eckler's work. I think it kills Justin Jackson probably if Kelly shows anything. I don't know that there's really room for Kelly to be much more than an RB3 at best, without barring injury, obviously, which is always the caveat with running backs. But either you guys see any opportunity here beyond injury?
No, I just think he's going to supplant Justin Jackson. He'll be the RB2 on the team, but as they showed last year, even when Gordon was out, that doesn't really show too much fantasy potential.
Andrew?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think he's, like Joey said, I think he's probably going to be the two. And again, I don't know that much about him. I believe we did study him, but it seems like it was so long ago. I'm kind of drawing a blank on what my thoughts were on him as a player.
He was in that group with Antonio Gibson that you never watch.
Oh, okay. And so anyway, what I was reading about him was that he's a very different player than both Eckler and Jackson. And so there's maybe a possibility of using him just because he's much more of a change of pace for Eckler than Jackson is. So I think there is opportunity for him to take the RB2 role. And then, like you said, opportunity in the case of injury. I don't know what they're gonna do there this year. If they're gonna actually run Herbert out there, or if they're gonna stick with Taylor, or they're gonna maybe sign Newton. You never know, right? So there's a lot of question marks there. Again, I think he's one of those higher upside flyers that you might take. I would probably land him behind Darington Evans, though.
So one thing I did notice is, like, if you look back when Melvin Gordon came back and it was Gordon and Eckler, Gordon played, I think it was like 54% of the team snaps, and Eckler still played on, it was like 51%. So they went split back a couple of times. So they both still had like almost an even snap share. So if they view Kelly as a competent running back, because I feel like they didn't in Jackson last year. That's why when Gordon was out, it was just pretty much all Eckler. If they view him as a competent running back, he could still see like a 50% snap share.
Did you compare that to the snaps before Gordon held out, like the year before? Because I feel like until Eckler proved what he could do in the first few games of the season last year, they didn't really trust Eckler either. So I think it's going to take that opportunity to prove that Kelly deserves those snaps, and I don't think he's going to get it unless something happens.
Right.
All right, so we're going to go rapid fire through these real quick. If you guys just want to circle back and let me know if there's any of these guys that really interest you in terms of landing spot, let me know. We got LaMichael Pirine to the Jets. We got Anthony McFarland to the Steelers, potentially threatening James Conner. We got DJ Dallas to Seattle, sitting behind Kenny and Carson until they inevitably leave. Then we got Jason Huntley to the Lions because we really needed to draft another fucking running back. He's a kick returner. Benjamin to Arizona, almost falling out of the draft entirely, and Raymond Calais to the Bucks. Any of those guys that particularly stand out to you?
Piron kind of does. Going to the Jets, Gase has already shown his displeasure with Le'Veon Bell. The only problem is getting rid of that contract, but I think he's definitely the number 2 running back on that team already. He steps right in that role, and if they do decide to trade Le'Veon Bell or get rid of Le'Veon Bell somehow, then that puts him right in the RB1 role, and he has a similar skill. So he's not anywhere near the caliber of Le'Veon Bell, but he can receive out of the backfield. He has decent patience, and he can run between the tackles.
I'm in agreement there. I think any of these guys is going to be, subject to opportunity, and the opportunity can come in different ways. So, injury or a cut of Bell and Piron is I know I've got him above most of the guys you mentioned.
Yeah, I think the most interesting one to me out of this group is Anthony McFarland. Because I think James Conner's out of town after this year. Conner's already an older running back anyway, so I don't think there's a whole lot of incentive to re-sign him. And they've also shown that they can really just run the ball with anybody. So that's why you don't draft running backs early.
You can only run the ball with anybody if Ben plays, because they couldn't do anything last year with Rudolph.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh.
Jesus, Mason Rudolph.
Oh.
They also, something came out today that was like the Steelers view him as their QB of the future. It's like, how do you view him as that after watching last year?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, man.
The other guy that jumps out at me out of the group that you mentioned was Benjamin. I think I'm surprised that he fell that far, and with literally only Drake ahead of him. Drake might not be there a whole lot longer himself, so
maybe a one and done. You're right.
Yeah, I think there's certainly
they are
potential
working
there.
on an extension with him.
Oh, they are.
They're in talks for an
Ooh,
extension
wait.
right now.
Who said that? Is that a possibility? That was in our Power Hour episode. I said, will Drake get an extension? And everybody thought it was freaking stupid
You might still be stupid
because I was the only sober one.
Was that before or after the 26-minute mark?
I think it was before the 26-minute mark. I think it was like my 4th question. But Nate was already like.
I really wish one of you guys would have taken the over on 30 minutes. I really thought Nate was going to take the over on 30 minutes, but
I really wish he tried holding it in and he got sick on camera.
Oh, would that have been better or worse than my muscle cramp?
better for sure.
Yeah,
For
it would
sure
have been better. Your muscle cramp caught us off guard. I thought you were having like a fucking heart attack or something.
Yeah.
We were just like.
All right, enough about muscle cramps and puking. This has been Dynasty Football Digest. You can find our written content on dynastyfootballdigest.com or idpguys.org. We have a draft magazine coming out. You can do your pre-order. You can buy a physical copy or a digital copy. If you buy this physical copy, you also get a copy of the digital copy, just to make sure that you have the information before any early rookie drafts that you have going on. You can get subscriptions over at either one of the websites as well. We have rankings, ADP. The rookie rankings should be up day after tomorrow, I believe, which is probably going to be around the time this podcast drops. And you get access to our Slack channel, where basically people have been asking us as they're on the clock who we would take in their situation.
I actually had a question. I want to get your guys' opinion on it. On the clock, it was Chenault or Antonio Gibson?
Chenault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Uh,
that's what I'm on.
Yeah, Chenault every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been a great episode, guys. Be back to talk wide receivers next week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The IDP Guys is your #1 resource for IDP information for your fantasy leagues. For as little as $1 a month, get access to all that we have to offer. Rankings, ADP, trade calculator, in-season assets, and a Slack chat to get personal help all year round. Purchase today at idpguys.org.
Football Digest. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Nasty Nate, got you, homie. Good production right here. We the Digest Network. And my name's Clock.